The year was 2178. Humanity had spread beyond Earth, building homes on Mars, Europa, and several planets around distant stars. The United Earth Alliance vessel Defiance moved silently through space. On its bridge, Commander Elaine Winters looked at the star map with careful eyes. "Are we in position, Lieutenant?" she asked. Lieutenant Gary Wells nodded. "Yes, Commander. We're at the agreed meeting point. Nigma vessels should arrive within the hour." Commander Winters took a deep breath. This mission could change everything for humanity. The Nigma Empire controlled nearly a third of this spiral arm of the galaxy. They were powerful, ancient, and, according to all reports, dangerous. "Dr. Carter, are you ready with the translation systems?" she asked. Dr. Noah Carter looked up from his workstation. His eyes were tired from days of studying Nigma language patterns. "As ready as we can be, Commander. Their basic communication structure is similar to some Earth languages, but their context markers are tricky." "Do your best," she said with a small smile. "That's all any of us can do." Chief Security Officer Greg Daniels stood by the tactical display. His face showed concern as he studied the data. "Commander, I've been tracking Nigma fleet movements near our colony on Tau Ceti. Their patterns seem deliberate, like they're measuring our response times." Commander Winters frowned. "Keep watching them. Record everything." The bridge fell silent as they waited. Humanity had encountered other alien species before, but none as powerful as the Nigma Empire. Stories told of their 11 different member species, each conquered and absorbed into their expanding realm. "Contact," announced Lieutenant Wells. 3 Nigma vessels just dropped out of FTL, 1 capital ship, 2 escorts. "Open communications," ordered Winters. "Standard greeting package." Minutes passed as they waited for a response. Finally, the main screen lit up with an image of the Nigma delegation. The alien in the center had pale blue skin, 6 eyes arranged in a circle, and wore ornate armor that seemed to shift colors. "I am High Arbiter Zexcalon of the glorious Nigma Empire," the alien said, its words processed through Dr. Carter's translation system. "We acknowledge your greeting, humans of Earth." Commander Winters stood tall. "I am Commander Elaine Winters of the United Earth Alliance. We welcome this opportunity for peaceful dialogue between our peoples." The High Arbiter made a gesture that Dr. Carter later identified as dismissive. "Your species is young. We have watched your development. Your technology is adequate. Your military presence is minimal." Greg Daniels tensed at this assessment but kept silent as Commander Winters continued. "We may be younger than the Nigma Empire, but we have much to offer in trade and cultural exchange. We seek friendship, not conflict." The 6 eyes of Zexcalon blinked in sequence. "Friendship is a concept for equals. The Nigma Empire offers protection to developing species. You would benefit from our guidance." Over the next hour, the true purpose of the meeting became clear. The Nigma weren't interested in equal relations. They presented terms for Earth to become a protected territory within their empire. Humans would surrender control of military operations, trade routes, and resource management. In return, they would receive security and technological advancement. Commander Winters listened carefully to each point. When the High Arbiter finished, she spoke firmly. "I appreciate your offer, but humanity will maintain its independence. We seek peaceful cooperation, not subjugation." The atmosphere in the room changed instantly. The High Arbiter's skin darkened slightly. "Your species is young and overconfident," Zexcalon said. "We have absorbed 1,000 civilizations more advanced than yours. Consider our generous offer carefully." Without further discussion, the Nigma delegation ended the transmission. The 3 alien ships moved away, jumping to faster than light speed. Dr. Carter looked worried. "That didn't go well." "No," agreed Commander Winters. "It didn't." She turned to her communications officer. "Send a full report to Admiral Rodriguez. Priority channel. We're heading back to Earth." 3 weeks later, the Defiance reached Earth orbit. Commander Winters transported down to United Earth Alliance headquarters in Geneva, where Admiral Vanessa Rodriguez had called an emergency council meeting. The council chamber was filled with military leaders, scientists, and government officials. Admiral Rodriguez, a tall woman with short gray hair and commanding presence, opened the session. "You've all read Commander Winter's report on the Nigma encounter," she said. "Intelligence Officer Blackwood has additional information to share." "Kevin." Blackwood stood up. His face was grim as he activated the room's holographic display system. "We've been gathering data on the Nigma Empire since we first detected their communication signals 5 years ago," he explained. "What we've found is disturbing." The display showed a series of star maps, each highlighting different planetary systems. These 12 systems all reported contact with the Nigma Empire. All were offered the same protected status that was presented to us. Blackwood paused. "All of them refused." "And?" asked someone from the back of the room. "And none of them exist anymore," Blackwood said quietly. Each civilization mysteriously disappeared within 5 years of refusing Nigma's offer. No distress calls, no refugees, just silence. The room grew cold as his words sank in. "Are we sure the Nigma were responsible?" asked Dr. Carter, who had joined the meeting at Admiral Rodriguez's request. "We have no direct evidence," admitted Blackwood, "but the pattern is clear, and we have intercepted Nigma communications that refer to processing these worlds." Commander Winters spoke up. "What are our options, Admiral?" Admiral Rodriguez looked around the room. "We prepare. We don't know if the Nigma will return tomorrow or in 5 years, but we must assume they will return. And when they do, humanity needs to be ready." "The Nigma underestimate us," said Winters. "Their High Arbiter dismissed our technology, our capabilities. That might give us an advantage." "We'll need every advantage we can get," Rodriguez replied. "I'm authorizing Project Sentinel. We'll accelerate military production, strengthen our defenses, and establish emergency protocols for all colonies." As the meeting continued, Commander Winters felt a weight settle on her shoulders. Humanity had faced challenges before: environmental collapse on Earth, the difficult early days of space colonization, conflicts between Earth nations. But this was different. This was survival. "We should reach out to other independent species," suggested Dr. Carter. "Form alliances." "Already working on it," said Admiral Rodriguez, "but many are afraid of Nigma retaliation." As the council meeting ended, Commander Winters looked out the window at the blue sky of Earth. Somewhere beyond that peaceful view, an ancient empire was deciding humanity's fate. But humanity would have something to say about that decision. "We won't go quietly," she whispered to herself, "and we won't go alone." 6 months passed since the meeting with the Nigma Empire. Life on Earth continued, but with a new sense of urgency. Military ships were built at twice the normal rate. Defense systems around colonies were upgraded. Scientists worked day and night on new technologies. Then it happened. The research colony on Proxima Centauri B went silent. Lieutenant Samantha Reeves stood on the bridge of the rapid response vessel Thunderbolt. Her dark hair was pulled back tightly, and her eyes were fixed on the planet growing larger on the view screen. "Any response to our signals?" she asked her communications officer. "Nothing, Lieutenant," replied Ensign Alan Foster. Complete silence from the colony. Samantha felt a knot form in her stomach. Proxima Centauri B was home to 300 colonists, primarily scientists and their families. The colony had been established 10 years ago and had never missed a scheduled check-in. "Scan for life signs," she ordered. Officer Maria Lopez ran the scan. Her face paled as she saw the results. "Very faint readings, Lieutenant. Only one area shows potential survivors. The rest of the colony—" Her voice trailed off. "Prepare a landing team," Samantha said. "Full tactical gear." 30 minutes later, Samantha led a team of 6 security officers down to the planet's surface. What they found shocked them all. The colony buildings were crushed as if a giant hand had pressed down on them. Strange burn marks covered the ground in spiral patterns. But most disturbing of all was the complete absence of bodies. "Where is everyone?" whispered Officer Carlos Diaz. 300 people don't just disappear." Samantha checked her scanner. The life sign is coming from that direction. Stay alert. They moved carefully through the ruins until they reached what had once been the colony's engineering section. Part of the structure remained intact, protected by the hill it was built into. "Hello?" Samantha called out. "United Earth Alliance, we're here to help." After a moment of silence, a voice responded. "Are they gone?" A man emerged slowly from a hidden panel in the floor. He was thin and pale, with several days' growth of beard. His eyes darted around nervously. "Engineer Paul Martinez," Samantha read from her scanner. "Are you hurt?" Paul shook his head. "Not physically, but He stopped, his hands shaking. "I saw what they did. They brought Paul back to the Thunderbolt. The ship's doctor gave him a mild sedative, and after some food and water, he was able to talk about what had happened. It was 4 days ago," Paul explained to Samantha in the ship's conference room. "The Nigma ships just appeared. There was no warning. Our defense systems didn't even detect them until they were right on top of us." "How many ships?" asked Samantha. 3. Similar to the ones Commander Winters described in her report. Paul's eyes grew distant. "They used some kind of weapon I've never seen before. It didn't explode or burn like normal weapons. It changed gravity somehow. People and buildings were crushed or pulled apart." Samantha tried to remain professional, but felt horror rising within her. "The colonists? They took them," Paul said quietly. "Some kind of beam pulled them up into the ships, he swallowed hard, even the dead ones. How did you survive?" "I was in the maintenance tunnels beneath the engineering section when it happened. The shielding there is reinforced because of the colony's power core. I think that's why their sensors didn't detect me." Paul reached into his pocket and pulled out a small data drive. "I managed to record everything. Their ships, their weapons, their movements. It's all here." Samantha took the drive carefully. "This is incredibly valuable, Paul. You've done a brave thing." "Will it help?" he asked, his voice breaking. "Will it help stop them?" "Yes," she promised. "It will." While the Thunderbolt returned to Earth, events were unfolding that would change the course of the coming conflict. At the Quantum Defense Laboratory in Nevada, Dr. Lisa Andrews was working late. For months, she had been studying small pieces of Nigma technology recovered from previous minor skirmishes at the edge of human space. "Run the simulation again," she told her assistant, Jeff Warren. The holographic display showed waves of energy flowing around a Nigma shield generator. Lisa watched carefully as the patterns repeated. "There," she said suddenly, pointing. "Do you see it? The fluctuation pattern repeats every 7.3 seconds. Jeff looked confused. "Is that significant?" Lisa smiled for the first time in days. "It means their shields aren't continuous, they pulse, and if something pulses, it has a rhythm. If it has a rhythm, it can be predicted," Jeff finished, understanding dawning on his face. "Exactly." Lisa began typing rapidly. "If we can predict when the micro gaps in their shielding occur, we might be able to get a weapon through." On the other side of the world, Admiral Rodriguez received the news about Proxima Centauri. Her face remained calm, but her eyes burned with determination as she authorized a covert operation. Major Frank Delgado led a team of 12 special operations soldiers aboard the stealth ship Silent Arrow. Their mission: infiltrate a small Nigma outpost detected at the edge of the solar system. "We go in quiet, we get what we need, we leave," Frank told his team as they prepared their equipment. No heroics. Under the cover of an asteroid field, the Silent Arrow approached the Nigma outpost. The team used experimental stealth suits to board the alien structure. Inside, they found computer terminals and communication equipment. 2 minutes, whispered Frank as Specialist Olivia Baker connected their decryption device to the Nigma systems. "Working on it," Olivia replied, her fingers moving quickly. "Their security is complex, but follows patterns similar to what we expected." After a tense minute, data began flowing into their storage devices. Fleet movements, communication protocols, military planning. The Nigma had no idea humans had access to this information. As they prepared to leave, Frank noticed something on one of the screens. "Wait," he said. "What's that?" Olivia looked. "It appears to be attack plans. Multiple targets." Her eyes widened. "They're planning simultaneous attacks on 3 human colonies: New Mars, Titan Base, and Europa Station." "When?" Frank demanded. "Based on these timestamps, within the next 48 hours. The team extracted safely and rushed the information back to Earth. Admiral Rodriguez immediately contacted all 3 colonies, ordering evacuations and defense preparations. At the same time, Ambassador Diana Wright entered a special communication room in Geneva. On the screen before her appeared the 6-eyed face of a Nigma representative. "Your attack on Proxima Centauri was unprovoked," Diana said, her voice steady and controlled. 300 innocent civilians. The Nigma representative made the dismissive gesture that humans now recognized. "You were warned. Protected status or consequences. The choice was yours." Diana leaned forward. "Then hear this clearly. We warned you not to mistake our preference for peace as weakness. What follows is on your hands." She cut the transmission and turned to Admiral Rodriguez, who stood nearby. "It's done," Diana said. "The diplomatic approach is officially over." "Then we move to the next phase," Rodriguez replied. "Operation Achilles' Heel begins now." The underground laboratory buzzed with activity. Dr. Lisa Andrews had not slept for nearly 48 hours, but she showed no signs of slowing down. Her team of 20 scientists and engineers worked around her, testing and refining what might be humanity's best hope against the Nigma Empire. "Power level stable," called out Jeff Warren from his station. "Ready for test number 17. Lisa nodded and adjusted her safety glasses. In the center of the reinforced test chamber sat a small device that didn't look particularly impressive. It was roughly the size of a football, with a metallic surface covered in tiny emitters. "Activating quantum cascade disruptor in 3, 2, 1. The device hummed to life. Waves of energy, invisible to the naked eye but shown on their monitors, pulsed outward in precise patterns. On the other side of the chamber, behind a simulated Nigma shield, a sensor array registered the impact. After 10 seconds, the test ended. The room fell silent as everyone waited for the results. Jeff's face broke into a wide smile. 87% shield penetration. That's our best result yet." Cheers erupted around the lab. Lisa allowed herself a small smile before raising her hand to quiet the celebration. "It's progress," she said, "but we need it at 100% before we can deploy. Let's recalibrate and run test 18. As they worked, a message arrived from Admiral Rodriguez. Lisa read it quickly, her expression growing serious. "The Nigma just attacked New Mars colony," she announced to her team. "Most of the civilians were evacuated in time, but we lost 32 people in the entire settlement." She looked around at their shocked faces. "We don't have the luxury of perfect. We need this weapon operational now." Across the solar system, Commander Jack Nelson stood on the bridge of the stealth vessel Shadowhawk. The ship was one of the newest in Earth's fleet, designed specifically for guerrilla-style warfare that the Nigma wouldn't expect. "Status report," he said, his voice calm despite the tension everyone felt. "All systems nominal," replied his second-in-command, Lieutenant Ryan Mitchell. "Stealth systems at maximum efficiency. Nigma patrol has not detected us." "Weapons?" Jack asked, turning to the tactical station. Weapons specialist Olivia Powell looked up from her console. "Quantum cascade disruptor is installed and ready. Power draw is higher than expected, but within acceptable parameters." Jack nodded. This would be the first real combat test of Dr. Andrews' new weapon. If it worked as the simulations predicted, they might have a fighting chance against the vastly superior Nigma forces. "All hands to battle stations," he ordered. "Prepare to drop stealth on my mark." The Shadowhawk hid in the shadow of Saturn's rings. Ahead of them, 3 Nigma vessels patrolled the space lanes, unaware of the human ship watching them. Unlike the massive warships that had attacked Proxima Centauri, these were smaller patrol craft, perfect targets for a first strike. Jack took a deep breath. 3, 2, 1. Mark, the Shadowhawk surged forward, dropping its stealth field and powering weapons. The Nigma ships reacted immediately, turning to face the unexpected threat. "They're raising shields," reported Ryan. "Fire quantum cascade disruptor," Jack ordered. Olivia's fingers flew across her console. "Disruptor away, target locked." A pulse of energy shot from the Shadowhawk toward the lead Nigma vessel. For a brief moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, the alien ship's shields flickered and collapsed. "Shield penetration confirmed," Olivia shouted, unable to contain her excitement. "Nigma vessel is defenseless." "Conventional weapons, fire," Jack commanded. The Shadowhawk launched a volley of missiles. Without shields, the Nigma vessel had no defense. The explosions tore through its hull, breaking it apart in seconds. The remaining two Nigma ships attempted to coordinate a response, but the Shadowhawk was already moving to its next target. One by one, Jack's crew disabled and destroyed the patrol vessels. "All targets neutralized," Ryan reported. "No casualties on our side." A cheer went up from the crew. Jack allowed them this moment of celebration before regaining order. "This is just the beginning," he reminded them. "Prepare to jump to stealth mode and return to base. We have proof that the weapon works. Now the real fight begins." On the Nigma command vessel Eternal Dominion, High Arbiter Vrentalos received the news of the patrol fleet's destruction. His 6 eyes narrowed in anger. "Impossible," he hissed to his subordinates. "No species at this development stage has ever penetrated our shield technology." His second-in-command Sub-Arbiter Krell checked the data again. "The reports are verified, High Arbiter. All 3 vessels were destroyed by a single human ship." Vrentalos had recently taken command after the mysterious death of his predecessor, Zexcalon. Many suspected Vrentalos himself was responsible, but none dared say so openly. "This changes nothing," Vrentalos declared. "One small victory means nothing against the might of the Nigma Empire. Prepare the main armada. We will crush these humans with overwhelming force." Back on Earth, Admiral Rodriguez received the report from the Shadowhawk with grim satisfaction. The weapon worked. Now they needed more of them, and quickly. "Begin mass production immediately," she ordered Dr. Andrews via secure channel. "Every ship in the fleet needs to be equipped with the quantum cascade disruptor." "We'll need at least 2 weeks to produce enough for the main fleet," Lisa replied. "You have 1 week," Rodriguez said firmly. "Our intelligence suggests the Nigma are preparing a major assault." As the call ended, Rodriguez turned to her strategic planning team. "Implement Protocol Hydra," she ordered. The officers around the table exchanged glances. Protocol Hydra was a radical departure from traditional military doctrine. Instead of concentrating their forces for maximum firepower, they would split into small, autonomous units, designed to strike and disappear. "The Nigma expect us to fight conventionally," Rodriguez explained. "Their entire empire is built on predictable enemies who follow expected patterns. We will not give them what they expect." Across the solar system, the human fleet began to disperse. Major outposts were quietly evacuated, leaving behind automated systems to make them appear operational. Earth's defense grid was strengthened, but significant resources were diverted to the outer planets where they could strike from unexpected angles. 1 week later, the Nigma main armada arrived at Jupiter. As expected, they found human outposts, seemingly operating normally. The massive alien fleet, consisting of over 40 warships, moved in to begin their attack. But as they opened fire on the Jupiter stations, they discovered the truth. The outposts were empty, just shells designed to draw their attention. And then from a dozen different directions, human vessels appeared. Each equipped with the quantum cascade disruptor, they struck fast and hard before disappearing again. The Nigma, accustomed to enemies who stood and fought, were unprepared for this guerrilla warfare in space. Their formation broke as ships turned to chase targets that were already gone, only to be hit from another direction. The battle for Jupiter had begun, and for the first time in their long history of conquest, the Nigma Empire faced an enemy they couldn't easily predict or defeat. The war against the Nigma Empire entered its 3rd month. What the aliens had expected to be a quick conquest had turned into a prolonged struggle. Human forces refused to follow conventional battle tactics. They struck from hidden positions, disabled Nigma ships with their quantum cascade disruptors, and disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. Captain Alicia Morgan stood in the ready room of her ship, the Swift Justice. Maps and tactical displays covered the walls. Her crew had been chosen for this mission because of their exceptional skills and courage. They would need both. The plan is simple but dangerous, Alicia explained to her team. We will infiltrate the Nigma command ship Eternal Dominion. Our goal is to plant these quantum beacons throughout their vessel. She held up a small device no bigger than a coin. Each beacon will transmit the position and movement data of the Nigma fleet back to Earth. Once activated, they cannot be detected by Nigma sensors. Lieutenant Jeff Daniels, her security chief, looked concerned. How do we get aboard without being detected? Their security will be tight. Alicia nodded. That's where our new technology comes in. Dr. Andrews has modified our stealth suits to match Nigma energy signatures. Their sensors will register us as part of their own crew. The team spent hours reviewing the plan. They studied Nigma ship layouts based on data collected from previous encounters. They practiced moving and speaking like the aliens based on observations. By the time they finished, everyone knew their roles perfectly. The Swift Justice approached, the massive Nigma command ship under complete stealth. As they drew near, they could see the true scale of the alien vessel. It was enormous, nearly 2 kilometers long, with weapons emplacements covering its surface. In position, reported the pilot. Ready for team deployment. Alicia and her 5-person team entered the airlock. Their stealth suits hummed softly as the advanced technology created the perfect camouflage. They would appear to Nigma sensors as maintenance drones, common throughout the alien ships. Remember, stay together, stay quiet, and if something goes wrong, head for the extraction point, Alicia reminded them. They moved from their ship to the outer hull of the Eternal Dominion. Using specialized tools, they cut through an access panel and entered the massive alien vessel. The interior was dimly lit with bluish light. Strange symbols covered the walls, and the air smelled faintly metallic. First beacon placement is 2. Levels down, whispered Jeff, checking his handheld scanner. The team moved carefully through the ship, avoiding the actual Nigma crew whenever possible. They placed beacons at key junctions in the engine room, near the navigation center and in communication hubs. Each tiny device would feed vital information back to Earth's defense forces. As they approached the main command center, they heard raised voices. Using their translators, they listened to an argument between Nigma officers. The humans should have been crushed by now, shouted one voice they recognized as High Arbiter Vrentalos. How can they resist us? They fight differently than expected, replied another voice. Their tactics are unpredictable. They strike and disappear. Then find them. Hunt them down. I want their homeworld reduced to ash. Alicia gestured for her team to continue moving. They had one final beacon to place, directly outside the command center itself. This would give Earth access to the highest level of Nigma planning. Jeff carefully attached the last beacon to a power conduit, where it would be impossible to spot without knowing exactly where to look. The team was about to retreat when an alarm suddenly blared throughout the ship. Intruder alert, came an announcement in the Nigma language. Human biological signatures detected in Section 7. That's not us, Alicia realized. We're in Section 4. Jeff checked his scanner. There must be another human team aboard. Change of plans, Alicia decided quickly. We head for extraction now. The beacons are placed. Mission accomplished. They moved swiftly back through the corridors, using the confusion of the alarm to avoid detection. As they reached their entry point, they heard weapons fire in a distant part of the ship. Whoever the other humans are, they're providing a perfect distraction, Jeff noted. The team made it back to the Swift Justice without being spotted. As they pulled away from the massive Nigma vessel, they saw small explosions along its outer hull. The other team must be causing damage as they escape, Alicia said. Brave souls. Once safely away, Alicia activated the quantum beacons. Data began flowing instantly to Earth. For the first time, Humans would be able to track Nigma fleet movements across the galaxy. While Captain Morgan's mission was underway, important developments were happening on Earth. Engineer Ben Wallace led a team at the United Earth Alliance Research Facility in Arizona. They had been working on reverse engineering Nigma propulsion technology from salvaged ship parts. The breakthrough is in the quantum field manipulation, Ben explained to Admiral Rodriguez, who had come to see their progress. Their engines don't just move through space, they fold it. Can we replicate it? Rodriguez asked, getting straight to the point. Ben smiled. Better than that. We've improved it. He led the Admiral to a large hangar where a prototype engine sat on a test platform. Unlike the original Nigma design, this version was streamlined and more efficient. Their technology is impressive, but not innovative, Ben said. They clearly stole it from another species and never fully understood how it works. We've corrected inefficiencies they didn't even recognize. How soon can we retrofit our fleet? Rodriguez asked. We've already begun production. The first ships should be upgraded within 2 weeks. The news from Captain Morgan's mission and Ben Wallace's team changed the nature of the war. Human vessels, now able to match Nigma speed and track their movements, began targeted strikes against supply lines and outlying bases. The Nigma Empire, unaccustomed to fighting a prolonged war, began showing signs of strain. Reports intercepted through the quantum beacons revealed something unexpected. Several of the species conquered and absorbed by the Nigma were beginning to rebel. They're inspired by our resistance, Admiral Rodriguez told her staff. For thousands of years, no one has successfully stood against the Nigma. Now others see it's possible. On the Nigma homeworld of Zexkalan, High Arbiter Vrentalos faced mounting pressure. His military leaders brought increasingly troubling reports. Rebellions have broken out in the Cygnus sector, one commander reported. 3 previously subjugated species have destroyed our outposts and declared independence. Crush them, Vrentalos demanded. We lack sufficient forces, the commander replied hesitantly. Too many ships are committed to the Earth conflict. In a rage, Vrentalos killed the messenger where he stood. Looking at the shocked faces of his other officers, he made a fateful decision. Prepare the planet-killer weapons, he ordered. We will make an example of the humans that no species will ever forget. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Noah Carter made a discovery that would change humanity's understanding of their enemy. After months of studying Nigma historical records obtained through various missions, he found a pattern. They've never created anything, he explained to Commander Winters, who had been promoted for her leadership in the war. Every technology they possess, weapons, shields, propulsion, all of it was taken from species they conquered. So they're not innovators, Winters observed. Exactly, Noah agreed. They don't adapt or improve. They simply take and use. And when faced with something truly new, like our tactics and technologies, they don't know how to respond, Winters finished. That's why we're winning. The tide of war had truly turned. Humanity, once on the defensive, now pushed forward with growing confidence. The Nigma Empire, once seemingly invincible, found itself fighting on multiple fronts against enemies who refused to be predictable. But in their desperation, the Nigma were preparing to use weapons of unimaginable destruction. The final phase of the war was about to begin. Admiral Rodriguez stood before the Unified Earth Council in the underground chamber beneath Geneva. Maps and tactical displays covered the walls, showing the positions of both human and Nigma forces throughout the galaxy. The time has come to take the fight directly to the Nigma, she said, her voice strong and clear. For months we've been defending ourselves and striking at their outposts. Now we must hit them where it truly matters. The council members listened in silence as Rodriguez outlined her plan. It was bold, perhaps even reckless, but after careful consideration, they approved it. Operation Nemesis would begin within 48 hours. We have one chance to end this war, Rodriguez told Commander Winters as they left the council chamber. The Nigma are preparing their planet-killer weapons. If they deploy those against Earth or our colonies, millions will die. The fleet is ready, Elaine Winters assured her. Now an admiral herself, Winters would lead the main assault force. And we won't be fighting alone. Throughout the prior weeks, human diplomats had been in secret contact with species that had rebelled against Nigma rule. 7 formerly subjugated civilizations had agreed to join the assault on the Nigma central system. Their ships were smaller and fewer, but their knowledge of Nigma tactics and base locations was invaluable. The combined fleet gathered near Alpha Centauri, the staging point for the jump to Nigma space. Over 200 human vessels were joined by nearly 80 ships from their new allies. It was the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. On the bridge of the flagship Defiance, now upgraded and battle-hardened, Admiral Winters addressed the fleet. Today we fight not just for Earth, but for all free species in the galaxy. The Nigma Empire has crushed countless civilizations over thousands of years. Their reign of terror ends now. The fleet activated their improved FTL drives, based on the technology engineer Ben Wallace had perfected. In a brilliant flash of light, they jumped to the heart of Nigma territory, the throne world of Zex Kalan. High Arbiter Vrentalos was in the middle of planning the deployment of the planet-killer weapons when alarms sounded throughout the planetary defense network. "What is happening?" he demanded, his 6 eyes blinking rapidly in agitation. "Multiple ships emerging from FTL," reported a subordinate. "Human vessels and others, many others." "Impossible," Vrentalos roared. "No one knows the coordinates of Zex Kalan except our own fleet." But the evidence was undeniable. Somehow, the humans had found the Nigma homeworld, and they had brought allies. "Launch all defensive ships," ordered Vrentalos. "Activate the OT, planetary shield." The battle for Zex Kalan began in earnest. Nigma ships rose from the planet's surface and orbital stations to meet the invaders. For the first time in the war, the two forces met in direct large-scale combat. But the Nigma quickly discovered that their usual tactics were ineffective. Human ships moved in unpredictable patterns, using the quantum cascade disruptors to disable Nigma shields before striking with conventional weapons. The rebel alien vessels, familiar with Nigma battle formations, exploited weaknesses the Nigma didn't even realize they had. On day 3 of the battle, Captain Alicia Morgan led a special mission. Her ship, along with 10 others, broke through the thinning Nigma defenses and approached the planet itself. "The planetary shield is still operational," reported Lieutenant Daniels. "We can't get through to deploy the ground forces." Alicia studied the tactical display. "There," she said, pointing to a small anomaly in the shield pattern. "Dr. Andrews predicted this. Their planetary shield uses the same technology as their ship shields, just on a larger scale. It has the same pulse frequency." "So we can use the quantum cascade disruptor?" asked Daniels. "Yes, but we'll need more power than a single ship can generate." Alicia coordinated with the other captains in her group. All 11 ships positioned themselves in a precise formation around the anomaly point and synchronized their disruptors. "Fire on my mark," Alicia ordered. 3, 2, 1, mark. 11 beams of energy converged on a single point in the planetary shield. For several tense seconds, nothing seemed to happen. Then, like ice cracking under pressure, the shield began to fail. A hole appeared, quickly expanding outward as the disruptors overwhelmed the shield generators. "Shield breach confirmed," shouted Daniels. "We have an opening." Through the gap poured transport ships carrying human and allied ground forces. Leading them was Major Frank Delgado, whose special operations team had trained specifically for this mission. "Let's finish this," Frank told his soldiers as their ships entered the atmosphere of Zex Kalan. On the planet's surface, panic spread among the Nigma leadership. Their homeworld had never been invaded before. Their civilian population, accustomed to safety behind their supposedly impenetrable defenses, were unprepared for war reaching their doorstep. High Arbiter Vrentalos retreated to the most secure bunker beneath the capital city. With him went his closest advisors and the control systems for the Nigma's most terrible weapons. "If we cannot win, no one will," Vrentalos declared, activating a hidden control panel. "Initiate the purge protocol." His second-in-command looked alarmed. "High Arbiter, the purge will destroy our own civilization." Better destruction than defeat, Vrentalos replied coldly. Deep beneath the surface of Zex-Kalan, ancient engines began to power up. The Purge protocol was designed as a final option, a way to destroy not just the Nigma homeworld, but to create a chain reaction that would spread through nearby systems. It was genocide on a galactic scale. Dr. Lisa Andrews, who had come with the invasion force to provide scientific support, detected the power surge. Something's happening, she told Admiral Winters. Energy readings off the charts building toward some kind of massive release. Winters contacted Major Delgado immediately. Frank, we're detecting what might be a doomsday device. You need to find and shut it down. Frank's team, joined by Lieutenant Samantha Reeves, who had requested to be part of the ground assault, fought their way through the capital city toward the source of the energy readings. They encountered resistance, but also something unexpected. Nigma civilians helping them. Not all Nigma support the High Arbiter, explained one of them, a six-eyed female named Tella. Many of us are from conquered worlds, forced to serve. We've waited generations for this moment. With Tella's help, Frank and Samantha reached the underground facility where the Purge protocol was building toward activation. Inside, they found High Arbiter Vrentalos preparing to complete the final sequence. A desperate battle ensued. Frank's team fought against the High Arbiter's guards while Samantha and Dr. Andrews, communicating remotely, worked to disable the Purge device. It's locked to his genetic signature, Samantha reported. We can't shut it down without him. Frank looked at the cornered High Arbiter. It's over, Vrentalos. Surrender and stop this madness. Never, the alien leader hissed. The Nigma Empire will never bow to lesser beings. But as he prepared to complete the activation, one of his own guards struck him from behind. The guard removed his helmet, revealing another six-eyed face. For too long you have led us to destruction, the guard said. No more. With the High Arbiter incapacitated, they were able to shut down the Purge protocol. Throughout the capital, Nigma forces began to surrender as word spread of their leader's defeat. 17 days after it began, the battle for Zex-Kalan ended. Representatives from Earth and the allied species met with Nigma moderates who had opposed Vrentalos. The Nigma Empire as it was is finished, declared Ambassador Diana Wright. In its place, we propose the Orion Cooperative, where all species have equal representation and rights. The surrender terms were generous but firm. The Nigma would dismantle their weapons of mass destruction. Their technology would be shared among all member species. And no single species would hold power over the others. In the years that followed, Dr. Noah Carter led teams that studied the ruins of Nigma civilization. They discovered records of over 200 species the Nigma had encountered, and either absorbed or destroyed over their long history. On Proxima Centauri b, a memorial was built for those lost in the first attack. Similar monuments rose on other worlds that had suffered under Nigma aggression. Admiral Elaine Winters returned to her childhood home in Colorado after the war. Standing on her porch one evening, looking up at the stars, she reflected on the conflict that had changed humanity's place in the galaxy. We never wanted their extinction, she said softly to the night sky. We simply refused to accept our own. In the archives of the new Orion Cooperative, a final transmission from the old Nigma Empire was preserved. It was brief, sent just before the surrender, and it read simply, "We should have heeded your warning." The day the ships came, most people were just going about their normal lives. Paul Harris was drinking coffee on his porch in rural Ohio when his phone started buzzing with alerts. He looked up at the sky and saw it, a massive dark shape blocking out the morning sun. All across Earth, people stopped what they were doing and looked up. The ships were huge, at least a mile long each, with smooth metal surfaces that reflected sunlight in strange patterns. There were 7 of them, positioned over major cities around the world. In Washington, D.C., General Carol Bennett rushed into the Oval Office. The president looked pale. Nobody had detected the ships coming. They had simply appeared as if they had always been there. "Sir, we've established communication," General Bennett said. "They're calling themselves the Galactic Imperial Fleet." The president nodded slowly. "What do they want?" They say they want to meet with Earth's leaders. They sound amused, sir. At the United Nations building in New York, representatives from every nation gathered in emergency session. The largest ship hung directly over Manhattan, casting a shadow that stretched for miles. News helicopters circled at a safe distance, broadcasting live footage to billions of frightened viewers. Admiral George Williams of the United Earth Defense Force stood at attention. He had been chosen to lead the first contact team. At 62, Williams had gray hair and steady hands. He had never expected to meet aliens, but he was determined to represent humanity with dignity. "Admiral, your team is assembled," said an aide, gesturing to the 5 other people waiting nearby. Ambassador Susan Miller adjusted her blue suit nervously. As the top diplomatic advisor, she had studied theoretical first contact scenarios for years. None of her training felt adequate now. Next to her stood Dr. Alan Foster, a tall, thin man with thick glasses who specialized in biology and potential alien life. He carried a tablet loaded with Earth's scientific knowledge ready to share. The other team members included Dr. Kevin Patel, a linguist, Major Linda Howard, security expert, and Sam Rivera, a cultural anthropologist. They all looked up as the holographic communicator in the center of the room flickered to life. A face appeared, if you could call it a face. It had 6 eyes arranged in a circle and a small mouth that moved in odd ways when it spoke. Its skin was bluish and seemed to shimmer. "Greetings, humans," it said in perfect English. "I am Overlord Zax Thule of the Galactic Imperial Fleet. We have arrived to assess your world for potential integration into our empire." The alien's voice sounded almost bored, as if this was a routine errand. Admiral Williams stepped forward. "On behalf of Earth, we welcome you and hope for peaceful relations. We request a meeting to discuss—" Yes, interrupted Zax Thule. "Standard procedure. We will transport your delegation to our vessel in 1 hour. Bring no weapons. They would be useless anyway." The communication ended abruptly. Dr. Foster turned to Williams. "Did you notice how they spoke? They're not concerned about us at all. They don't see us as a threat." Williams nodded. "That might work in our favor." An hour later, the contact team stood on the roof of the UN building. A beam of light shot down from the ship above, surrounding them in a column of blue energy. Ambassador Miller felt her stomach lurch as they were pulled upward, rising through the air toward the massive vessel. The inside of the Imperial ship was vast, with ceilings that seemed to go up forever. The walls were made of some kind of living metal that pulsed with light. Alien beings moved about, some like Zax Thule, others with completely different forms. None of them paid much attention to the humans. They were led to a large circular room. In the center stood Overlord Zax Thule, surrounded by what appeared to be advisors. The Overlord was taller than he had appeared in the hologram, at least 8 feet high, with a body that tapered to a narrow waist and 4 arms. "Welcome, Earth creatures," said Zax Thule. "You may consider yourselves fortunate. We have decided your species is interesting enough to preserve." Ambassador Miller stepped forward. "Overlord, we appreciate your greeting, but we are not seeking to be preserved. We wish to establish diplomatic relations as equals." A sound like grinding stones came from the aliens. Williams realized they were laughing. "Equals? How charming," said Zax Thule. "Your species has barely mastered simple space travel. You still use combustion engines and electronic devices. We have been traveling the stars for 50,000 years." Dr. Foster was studying a display on the wall. It showed various star systems, and what appeared to be wormhole routes between them. Something about the pattern seemed off to him. "Your method of faster-than-light travel," he said suddenly. "May I ask how it works?" One of the alien advisors, smaller than Zax Thule, but with similar features, turned to look at Foster. "Your species couldn't possibly understand our dimensional fold technology. We use the natural weaknesses in reality to move between spaces." Ambassador Miller noticed the advisor's tone. It wasn't just dismissive. There was something else there. Pride, perhaps, but also a lack of curiosity. These beings believed they knew everything worth knowing. "We have theories about such travel," Miller said carefully. Our scientists have considered the possibilities of dimensional manipulation. Theories. How quaint, said Zaxathul. We have controlled the very fabric of space for millennia. But enough of this. We are here to inform you of your place in the Empire. A three-dimensional image appeared in the center of the room, a map of Earth with various regions highlighted in different colors. We will establish bases on your world. Your governments will continue to function under our supervision. Your resources and some of your population will serve Imperial needs. Those who cooperate will enjoy Imperial protection and limited access to some of our technologies. Admiral Williams felt his face grow hot. And if we don't agree to these terms? Zaxathul's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. Then we will take what we need anyway, with less concern for your survival. It is quite simple. As the meeting continued, Major Howard noticed something strange about the ship. There were occasional flickers in the walls, brief moments where the living metal seemed to ripple unnaturally. The aliens didn't react to these events as if they didn't notice them or considered them normal. After 2 hours of tense discussion, the human delegation was returned to Earth. As they descended in the blue beam, they could see that smaller, Imperial ships had already begun landing in various locations around the world. Back at the UN building, they reported to the Emergency Council. They see us as primitive, said Williams. Barely worth their attention. That's not good, said the Secretary General. Actually, Dr. Foster spoke up, it might be our only advantage. I noticed something about their technology. There's something wrong with it. Something they don't seem to understand. Ambassador Miller nodded. I felt it too. They're advanced? Yes, but there's a blindness to them. A certainty that they know everything. What can we do? Asked the Secretary General. Their ships are already landing. People are panicking. Williams looked at Foster. You said there's something wrong with their technology. Can you figure out what it is? Foster nodded slowly. I'll need access to our best physicists, and we need more data from their ships. I'll put together a team, Williams said. If they think we're too primitive to be a threat, maybe they won't guard their secrets too closely. Outside, the shadow of the Imperial ship still darkened the sky. But for the first time since the ships appeared, there was a small flicker of hope. 3 days after first contact, Dr. William Chen stood in his lab at MIT, surrounded by holographic displays showing Imperial technology. The government had managed to get images and scans from the alien ships as they landed around the world. Chen had hardly slept since then, trying to understand what he was seeing. This doesn't make sense, he muttered, adjusting his glasses. Their energy systems are incredibly powerful, but they're so wasteful. His assistant, Mary Clark, looked up from her computer. What do you mean? It's like they're using a sledgehammer to crack a nut, Chen said. Look at this engine design. They're forcing their way through space-time instead of working with its natural properties. Outside the lab windows, they could see an Imperial shuttle landing in the large field that had once been a sports complex. The aliens had set up a cultural exchange center on campus, though most students and faculty avoided it. The few who had visited described being treated like clever pets by the Imperial staff. Dr. Chen's phone rang. It was Nancy Howard, a mathematician working at the National Science Foundation. William, I've been looking at the data you sent, she said, her voice tense. I think I found something important. Can you secure this call? Chen pressed a button on his phone, activating the encryption system. Go ahead. The equations describing their FTL technology, I modeled what happens if they continue using it at current levels. William, it's not sustainable. It's creating micro tears in the fabric of reality. Chen felt his mouth go dry. How bad is it? Bad. My models predict a critical failure point within 5 years. Not just their ships. I'm talking about dimensional collapse across entire star systems. Chen looked again at the Imperial shuttle outside. We need to tell them. I already tried, Nancy said. I went through proper channels, met with their science team yesterday. They dismissed everything I said, called our math charmingly primitive. We need more evidence, Chen said, and we need someone they'll listen to. At the White House, Richard Davis, the UN Secretary General, was meeting with Lord Krell, the Imperial Ambassador. Krell was smaller than Overlord Zax Thule, but had the same bluish skin and 6 eyes. He sat uncomfortably in a human chair, looking bored. "Ambassador, we have concerns about your dimensional fold technology," Davis said. "Our scientists believe it may be causing damage to space-time itself." Krell made the grinding noise that passed for laughter among his species. "Your scientists? Your species has barely touched the stars. Do not presume to lecture the Empire on matters beyond your comprehension." Davis pushed a tablet across the table. "Please, just look at the data. The dimensional tears are already starting to appear. One was detected near your base in Australia yesterday." Krell glanced at the tablet for barely a second before pushing it away. "Nonsense. What you detected was simply a normal fluctuation. Our technology has been perfected over thousands of years." After the meeting, Davis called Admiral Williams. "They won't listen. We need to try another approach." "I might have something," Williams said. "One of the Imperial scientists has been asking questions. His name is Vrexnor. He seems less dismissive than the others. Can you get him to meet with our team?" "I'm working on it," Williams said. "But we need to be careful. The Imperial Command doesn't like their people mixing too much with humans." At the NASA Research Center in Houston, Captain Lisa Rodriguez sat at her monitoring station. As commander of the science vessel Horizon, currently in orbit, she had been tasked with scanning the Imperial ships from a distance. "Are you seeing this?" she asked her science officer, Ben Wilson, pointing at a readout on her screen. Wilson leaned in. "Energy spikes? They're getting stronger." "And more frequent," Rodriguez said. "Look at the pattern. Every time they use their FTL drive, even for small jumps, the after effects last longer." She pulled up another screen showing data from probes around the solar system. "The spatial distortions are spreading. Jupiter's moons are showing gravitational anomalies that weren't there a week ago." "Could it be natural?" Wilson asked. Rodriguez shook her head. "The timing matches perfectly with Imperial FTL jumps. There's no doubt they're causing this." She began typing a message to Earth. "We need to get this information to Dr. Chen and his team immediately." In a secure underground facility in Colorado, Dr. Alan Foster met with Dr. Chen and a small team of scientists from around the world. They had gathered every piece of data they could find on Imperial technology. "The problem is fundamental," Chen explained, pointing to a 3D model of an Imperial drive system. "Their entire technological civilization is built on forcing dimensional shortcuts through space-time. It worked fine when they were the only ones doing it, and when they did it less frequently. But as their empire expanded, they're creating too many tiers," Foster said. "Like poking too many holes in a piece of fabric." "Exactly," Chen nodded. "And they can't see it because their sensors aren't designed to detect these kinds of problems. They don't even know to look for them." A young physicist named Sandra Bell spoke up. "We need to show them. Words won't be enough." "Show them how?" asked Foster. "We build a demonstration," Bell said. "A small-scale version of what's happening, something they can't ignore." Foster looked troubled. "That could be dangerous." "Not as dangerous as doing nothing," Bell argued. "Every day they keep using this technology, the tears get worse. If we wait too long, it might be too late to fix." Chen thought for a moment. "We would need access to Imperial technology to create an accurate demonstration." "I might be able to help with that," said a voice from the doorway. They turned to see Admiral Williams with a tall, thin alien beside him. The alien had the typical 6 eyes of the Imperials, but his were a different color, green instead of yellow. "This is Vrexnor," Williams said. "He's been reviewing our findings in secret. He wants to help." Vrexnor stepped forward. His voice translator made his words sound flat and mechanical. "Your mathematics are correct. I have verified them independently. But my superiors refuse to believe humans could discover something we missed. Will you help us create a demonstration they can't ignore?" Chen asked. The alien scientist was quiet for a moment. "Yes, but we must be careful. If Overlord Zax Thule discovers I am helping you, the consequences would be severe. For all of us." Williams added grimly. Outside the facility, Imperial ships patrolled the skies. Their presence had become common across Earth in the weeks since their arrival. Most people tried to go about their lives normally, but everyone felt the weight of the alien shadow above them. What no one knew yet was that a small group of humans and one Imperial scientist were now working desperately against time, trying to save not just Earth but thousands of worlds across the galaxy from a disaster the mighty Empire was too proud to see coming. 1 month after the Imperials arrived, their presence had become a fact of life. Imperial shuttles flew between their ships and Earth daily. They had set up bases in 20 major cities. Most people tried to go on with their lives, but the feeling of being watched never went away. Commander Kate Johnson of Special Operations crouched in the shadows near the Imperial base outside of Chicago. Her team of 4 soldiers wore adaptive camouflage suits that masked their heat signatures. They had been watching the base for 3 nights. "Target is moving," whispered Sergeant Eric Moore through their secure comm system. "Imperial transport, heading west." Johnson raised her binoculars. The transport was larger than usual, with heavy armor plating. "Follow it, but keep your distance." Their mission was simple but dangerous. Gather information about Imperial activities. The government needed to know what the aliens were planning. They tracked the transport to an abandoned factory complex 20 miles away. More Imperial vehicles were already there. Soldiers unloaded large metal containers. "What are they building?" Moore whispered. Johnson zoomed in with her binoculars. "Looks like a permanent installation, much bigger than their other bases." She took pictures with a specialized camera designed to work around Imperial detection systems. As she watched, she saw something disturbing. A flicker in the air around the base, like heat waves, but with strange colors. It lasted only seconds. Before disappearing, "Did you see that?" she asked. Moore nodded. "Third time tonight, getting more frequent." Johnson checked her scanner. "Energy readings are off the charts. Whatever they're doing in there, it's affecting the local space-time." She sent the data back to headquarters, then signaled her team to withdraw. As they moved through the forest, Johnson couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. At the secret research facility in Colorado, Dr. Chen and Vrex Noor worked side by side. They had converted an old missile silo into a laboratory where they could study the effects of Imperial technology safely away from prying eyes. "The dimensional tear near Australia has grown by 30%, Chen said, pointing to a monitor, "and we've detected new ones forming near Imperial bases in Brazil and Russia." Vrex Noor's 6 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of distress in his species. "It is happening faster than I calculated. The Empire's mining operations on your moon have accelerated the process." Dr. Sandra Bell and Jack Nguyen entered the lab carrying new equipment. They had been working with Vrex Noor to build a device that could detect the tears more accurately. "We've finished the new sensor array," Bell said. "It can detect dimensional instabilities within a radius of 500 miles. "Good," Chen nodded. "We need to deploy these around the world immediately." Nguyen looked worried. "The Imperial security forces are increasing their patrols. Getting these past them won't be easy." "I have a contact in the Earth Defense Force," Chen said. "Commander Johnson. She can help distribute them." Vrex Noor moved to a large containment chamber in the center of the lab. Inside was a small device they had built using modified Imperial technology. "Our demonstration model is ready," he said. "We can show my people exactly what will happen if they continue on this path." "Will they listen?" Bell asked. "Some will," Vrex Noor replied. "But Overlord Zax Thule and his military commanders, they believe admitting error is a sign of weakness." In Washington, D.C., Secretary General Davis sat across from Dr. Frank Wilson, who had just finished presenting his findings to a joint Human-Imperial Scientific Committee. "How did it go?" Davis asked. Wilson sighed. "Not well. I showed them the data. The dimensional tears, the increasing instability, everything. Most of the Imperial scientists walked out halfway through." "All of them?" "No," Wilson said. 3 stayed behind. They asked questions afterward. "I think they're concerned," even if they won't admit it publicly. Davis looked out the window at the Imperial flagship hovering over the city. We need more allies among them. The Imperial Science Director Televox, could she be approached? Possibly, Wilson said. She seemed less dismissive than the others, but any Imperial who sides with us is risking everything. The door opened, and an aide rushed in. Sir, we're getting reports of unusual activity at Imperial bases worldwide. They're accelerating their construction projects and bringing in more ships. Davis frowned. They're speeding up their colonization timeline. Why? Maybe they know we're onto something, Wilson suggested. On the Imperial flagship, Overlord Zax Thule met with his military commanders. The ship's bridge was massive, with view screens showing different parts of Earth. The humans are becoming problematic, Zax Thule said. They ask too many questions about our technology. General Drax, the fleet commander, made a dismissive gesture with one of his forearms. They are primitive. What could they possibly understand about our technology? Nonetheless, Zax Thule continued, some of our scientists have reported concerning findings after reviewing human research. Dimensional instabilities have been detected near our bases. A coincidence, Drax said. Or natural phenomena these humans have misinterpreted. Imperial scientist Televox stepped forward. Unlike the others, she had been studying human science with actual interest. My overlord, I believe we should at least investigate their claims. The humans have a different approach to physics. Their mathematics regarding dimensional stability is quite sophisticated, despite their technological limitations. Zax Thule's eyes narrowed. Are you suggesting these creatures know something we do not? I am suggesting that different perspectives can sometimes reveal blind spots, Televox said carefully. It would cost us little to examine their findings. Enough, General Drax interrupted. These humans are spreading fear and disruption. They should be controlled more firmly. I recommend we accelerate our settlement plans and establish full Imperial authority. Zax Thule was quiet for a moment. Yes. The time for observation is over. Begin the next phase immediately. Increase our presence in all major population centers. As Televox left the meeting, she sent a coded message to Vrex Noor. She had been secretly communicating with him since he first shared the human findings with her. Her message was simple, but urgent. They will not listen. Proceed with demonstration. Back at the research facility, Chen received the message from Vrex Noor. He called an emergency meeting with his team and Admiral Williams. The Empire is accelerating their plans, Chen explained. They're dismissing our warnings and pushing forward with their colonization. The dimensional tiers are getting worse. Every day, Bell added. If we don't act soon, it might be too late. Admiral Williams looked grim. Then we have no choice. We need to show them what they're doing, in a way they can't ignore. Operation Looking Glass, Chen said, nodding. A controlled demonstration of the dimensional fracture effect. Where? Asked Nguyen. Jupiter's moon, Callisto, Williams replied. Far enough away to be safe, close enough for their sensors to detect it clearly. We'll need authorization from the president, Bell said. Williams stood up. I'll handle that. You focus on making sure the demonstration is perfect. We only get one chance at this. As the meeting ended, Chen looked at the images of the growing dimensional tiers on his monitors. Strange colors leaked from them, like wounds in reality itself. Humanity had never faced a threat like this before, not just to Earth, but to the very fabric of space-time. And the irony wasn't lost on him. The mighty galactic empire, with all its power and arrogance, was blind to the danger it was creating. Now it was up to humans, the primitive species they had dismissed, to save them from themselves. The day of Operation Looking Glass arrived faster than anyone had planned. Imperial ships were now positioned over every major city on Earth. Their troops patrolled the streets. People were being taken to processing centers for integration, training. The situation was growing worse by the hour. In the control room of the secret research facility, Admiral Williams stood before a group of military and scientific leaders. Behind him, a large screen showed Jupiter and its moons. The president has given authorization, Williams said. We proceed at 800 hours. Dr. Chen pointed to a small device sitting on a table in the middle of the room. It looked simple. A metal cube about the size of a lunchbox with glowing blue lines across its surface. This is a miniature version of an Imperial fold drive, Chen explained. Thanks to Vrex Nor, we've modified it to safely demonstrate what happens when this technology is used incorrectly. Ambassador Susan Miller looked concerned. Are we sure this is safe? We've taken every precaution, Chen assured her. The demonstration will create a small, controlled dimensional tear on Callisto. It will last approximately 30 seconds before collapsing naturally. And the Empire will detect it? Asked General Bennett. They can't miss it, Chen said. Every Imperial ship in the solar system will register the event on their sensors. It will be unmistakable. Williams nodded to a communications officer. Send the message to all Imperial command centers. Tell them we have important information to share regarding dimensional stability and to monitor Callisto. Most Imperial commanders ignored the message. They had grown tired of human warnings and considered them attempts to delay the colonization process. But a few, including Televox and 3 other scientists, prepared to observe. On the horizon, space station orbiting Earth, Captain Lisa Rodriguez received the final launch codes. Payload is secure, she reported. Launching in 5 minutes. The small probe carrying the demonstration device shot away from the station, accelerating toward Jupiter. It would take 3 hours to reach its destination. Back on Earth, Imperial forces were closing in on the research facility. They had detected unusual energy readings and communications. We have company, a security officer reported. Imperial, troops 2 miles out and closing. Williams turned to Chen. How much time do you need? We just need to hold them off until the demonstration is complete, Chen said. 3 hours and 30 minutes. We can do that, Williams said, though he didn't sound convinced. Commander Johnson and her team set up defensive positions around the facility. They weren't trying to win, just buy time. Remember, Johnson told her soldiers, we're not fighting a war here. We're just delaying them until the demonstration works. The first Imperial ships appeared on the horizon. Johnson took a deep breath and gave the order to activate the facility's defense systems. In space, the probe approached Callisto. Everything was proceeding according to plan. In the control room, Chen watched the probe's telemetry with Vrex Nor at his side. Energy levels are stable, Chen said. No signs of early activation. Vrex Nor's 6 eyes were focused on another screen showing data from Imperial ships. Several Imperial vessels have changed course. They are moving to investigate. Good, Chen nodded. The more witnesses, the better. Outside, the sound of weapons fire grew louder. Imperial troops had reached the outer perimeter. Williams received a report from the front line. They're using non-lethal weapons. They want to take the facility intact. That works in our favor, Miller said. It will slow them down. The minutes ticked by. The probe landed on Callisto and deployed the demonstration device. In the control room, everyone held their breath. Device is active, Chen reported. Initiating in 3, 2, 1. On a desolate plain of Callisto, the small cube activated. It began to fold space in exactly the same way Imperial drives did, but with a critical difference. It was designed to make the flaw in their technology obvious. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, like a wound opening in reality itself, a tear appeared above the device. It was small at first, just a few feet across, but it grew rapidly. Strange colors leaked from it, colors that shouldn't exist in normal space. The tear pulsed and stretched, revealing glimpses of something else. Not empty space, not another dimension, but a kind of churning chaos between realities. In the control room, the sensors went wild. It's working, Chen said, his voice barely above a whisper. The tear is stable and visible. On Imperial ships throughout the solar system, alarms blared. Sensors detected a dimensional disturbance unlike anything they had recorded before. Ship captains rushed to their command centers. Scientists scrambled to understand what they were seeing. On the Imperial flagship, Overlord Zaxathul felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries. Fear. What is happening? He demanded. His science officer's voice trembled. A dimensional tear has formed on the moon called Callisto. It matches the pattern described in the human warnings. Impossible, General Drax growled. Their technology is too primitive. They used our own technology against us, Televox said, entering the command center. They modified an Imperial fold drive to demonstrate what has been happening on a smaller scale across our empire. Zax Thul's 6 eyes blinked, rapidly. Explain. The humans discovered a flaw in our dimensional fold technology, Televox said. The same technology that powers our ships, our weapons, our entire civilization. Every time we use it, we tear the fabric of reality a little more. These tears have been growing, spreading. The humans tried to warn us. On the screens, the tear on Callisto pulsed one final time before collapsing in on itself, leaving behind a shimmering distortion in space-time. This was just a demonstration, Televox continued. A controlled version of what is happening throughout Imperial space. But the real tears are not collapsing, they are growing. General Drax slammed his fist down. This is human deception. They seek to undermine our authority. Scan all Imperial bases on Earth, Televox said calmly. You will find similar distortions, though smaller. They have been there all along. We just couldn't see them because our sensors weren't calibrated correctly. The scans confirmed her words. Small tears in reality flickered around every Imperial installation on Earth, growing stronger whenever their technology was active. Back at the research facility, Imperial troops had breached the outer defenses. They were making their way toward the control room when all Imperial communications suddenly went silent. Then, a new message came through on all channels. Ambassador Miller looked at the message. They're calling for a ceasefire and immediate talks. Williams couldn't hide his surprise. It worked? At least with some of them, Chen said. On the main view screen, a new message appeared. It was from the Imperial flagship, directed to all human and Imperial forces. This is Imperial Science Director Televox. By authority of the Galactic Council, I am ordering all Imperial forces to cease offensive operations immediately. We have verified human findings regarding dimensional stability issues. A scientific emergency has been declared. Johnson's voice came through on the comm system. The Imperial troops are withdrawing, sir. They just turned around and left. In the control room, people began to cheer, but Chen raised his hand for silence. This isn't over, he said. We've convinced them of the danger, but fixing it will be much harder. Ambassador Miller nodded in agreement. Now comes the real challenge, convincing an empire to change the very foundation of its technology. Outside, the Imperial ships that had been so threatening just hours before now seemed different, vulnerable, even dangerous to themselves. Humanity had delivered its warning. Now the Empire had to decide whether to run from their doomed technology while they still could. And for the first time since their arrival, humans looked up at the Imperial ships with something other than fear. They looked up with determination, and perhaps even a touch of pity. 2 weeks after the Callisto demonstration, Earth had changed dramatically. Most Imperial ships had moved to a higher orbit. Their bases on the ground operated at minimal power. The aggressive colonization had stopped completely. In Geneva, a joint Human-Imperial Council had been established. Representatives from both species sat around a large circular table. Overlord Zax Thul himself was present, though he seemed diminished somehow. His usual arrogance had faded, replaced by a wary caution. The evidence is undeniable, Imperial Science Director Televox was saying. The dimensional tears are spreading throughout our empire. We have confirmed similar phenomena in 27 star systems. Ambassador Susan Miller nodded. Our sensors can now detect tears forming as far away as Alpha Centauri. The effect is accelerating. Zax Thul's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep distress. How long do we have? Dr. Chen consulted his tablet. At the current rate of expansion, critical failure will begin in approximately 4 years. The first systems to collapse will be those with the heaviest Imperial presence. General Drax, who had once dismissed human warnings, now looked grim. Can these tears be repaired? Not with current technology, Chen said. But they can be contained if we act quickly. The most important step is to immediately cease using the dimensional fold drives. This statement caused a stir among the Imperial delegates. Their entire civilization depended on faster-than-light travel. You ask us to ground our fleet? Drax growled. To cut our empire into isolated fragments? We're asking you to save your empire, Admiral Williams countered, and to save countless lives, both human and Imperial. The debate continued for hours. The Imperial representatives were divided. Some accepted the evidence and pushed for immediate action. Others resisted, seeing it as a human plot to weaken their power. Meanwhile, in a different part of the building, a more practical meeting was taking place. Chief Engineer Peter Walsh, a short man with calloused hands and practical ideas, met with a team of Imperial engineers. Your fold drives are incredible technology, Walsh said, his voice reflecting genuine admiration. Just pointed in the wrong direction. You've been forcing your way through space-time instead of working with it. He displayed a set of technical drawings on a holographic projector. These are our designs for a new type of drive. We call it the harmonic wave drive. Instead of tearing space, it resonates with natural dimensional frequencies. An Imperial engineer named Kreldor studied the designs. This is primitive, but the underlying theory is sound. The efficiency would be lower than our current drives. But it wouldn't destroy reality, Walsh pointed out. And with refinement, we believe the efficiency could approach 90% of your current drives within a few years. The Imperial engineers huddled together, discussing in their own language. Finally, Kreldor turned back to Walsh. We will help develop this technology. It will require extensive modifications to our ships, but it can be done. Across the world, the news spread. The mighty galactic empire was changing course because of human intervention. For the first time, people began to feel hope instead of fear when they looked at the alien ships above. But not everyone was convinced. In a secure room deep within the Imperial flagship, General Drax met with a group of hardline military commanders. This is humiliation, Drax hissed. The humans have tricked Zax Thul with their primitive science. What would you have us do? Asked Commander Vexbor. The dimensional tears are real. We have verified them ourselves. They are exaggerated, Drax insisted. A natural phenomenon the humans are using to manipulate us. I will not see the Empire weakened by fear. He outlined his plan, a sudden military strike against key human facilities, followed by full colonization. They would simply overwhelm Earth with the Empire's superior numbers. What Drax didn't know was that Televox had anticipated this reaction. Hidden sensors in the room transmitted his words directly to Zax Thul. The Overlord listened to Drax's treachery with growing anger. Once, he might have agreed with the General's assessment, but he had seen the evidence with his own eyes now. He had watched the tear form on Callisto, had seen the sensor readings from across Imperial space. In the council chamber, debate continued until a side door opened, and Overlord Zax Thul entered, accompanied by Imperial guards. The room fell silent. I have made my decision, Zax Thul announced. The Empire will follow the human recommendations. All fold drives will be shut down immediately. Research into alternative technology will receive our highest priority. He turned to address the human delegates directly. Your species saw what we could not. You warned us when you could have simply protected your own world. The Empire acknowledges this debt. Dr. Chen spoke up. It's not just about Earth. The dimensional collapse would eventually affect the entire galaxy, perhaps beyond. We all share this reality. Zax Thul made a gesture that in Imperial culture indicated deep respect, something no human had seen before. As the council session ended, people gathered outside in the streets. News of the agreement had spread quickly. For the first time since the Imperial ships arrived, there was a feeling of partnership rather than fear. 6 months later, the first converted Imperial ship prepared for its maiden voyage. The massive vessel hovered above Earth's North Pole, its engines humming with a new kind of energy, the harmonic wave drive developed by joint human-Imperial teams. On the bridge, Captain Maria Gonzalez looked out at the stars. As the human representative assigned to the ship, she had watched the incredible speed of the conversion process. The Imperials, once they committed to a new path, moved with impressive efficiency. "All systems are ready," reported the Imperial pilot. "Harmonic resonance is stable," Gonzalez nodded. "Then let's make history." The ship moved forward, accelerating steadily. Then, instead of tearing a hole in space-time, it created a rippling wave of energy that carried the vessel smoothly into faster-than-light travel. Back on Earth, scientists monitored the existing dimensional tears. They were no longer growing. Some smaller ones had even begun to heal naturally now that they weren't being stressed by constant Imperial technology. In his laboratory, Dr. Chen watched the readings with satisfaction. Next to him stood Vrexenor, now officially the Imperial ambassador to Earth. "It will take decades to convert all Imperial technology," Vrexenor said. "But we have begun." Chen smiled. "Sometimes the most advanced civilization isn't the one with the most powerful technology. It's the one that can see the consequences of using it." Outside, the sky was clearing of Imperial ships as they departed to spread the warning throughout their vast empire. The ships that remained no longer seemed threatening. They were partners now, working to undo the damage before it was too late. Humanity had accomplished something remarkable. They hadn't defeated the Galactic Empire through force of arms. They had simply understood the universe a little better, and had the courage to warn their would-be conquerors to run from destruction while there was still time. And in doing so, they had earned something far more valuable than victory in battle: